Hi again, everyone. Gary Digital Williams here on Boxing Along the Beltway. Our news and notes for this week, and actually we took a couple of weeks off. A couple reasons. Number one, real life kind of got in the way a little bit, and I'm closing out my first year as a school teacher in Prince George's County, Maryland this year, so we've been kind of busy doing that. But also, quite frankly, news has been kind of slow in the area over the last couple of weeks, but things are starting to pick up now because got some big things coming up we'll talk about a little bit, especially on the amateur side as well. A lot of things going on the amateur side right now in the next week or so. But the big news we just broke down today, as a matter of fact, as we record this, the big news is that Swift Jared Hurd, the Accokeek, Maryland, the super welterweight out of Accokeek, Maryland, undefeated, 17-0, 11 KOs. Well, his bout against Oscar Molina, which is on the card featuring Keith Thurman and Sean Porter, has now been moved to the co-feature spot on this card. And this is going to be fantastic. The reason being is because the bout between Jesus Cuellar, the WBA featherweight champion, and former world champion Abner Mares got canceled because Mares is having a real tough time passing the New York State Athletic Commission's eye exams. The bout is was scheduled to take place at Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. And because that bout fell out, Hurd Molina, who was probably the third bout on the big show. Actually, I don't know if it was originally scheduled to be on television, at least not on CBS, is now going to be on CBS. And that's the PBC on CBS. That'll be Saturday, June 25th, 9 p.m. Eastern card, and the bout will open the telecast on that night. And another big opportunity for Jared Hurd, who's coming off a big opportunity. Matter of fact, kind of a similar situation in the sense that, first of all, his bout against Frank Galarza was scheduled to be in Biloxi, Mississippi in 2015, and it was supposed to be November 13th on 2015, and then things changed. Things just started to change, and what happened was they decided to move that bout from Biloxi, Mississippi, to Las Vegas, Nevada, and it was scheduled to be the co-feature bout to Gary Russell Jr., who was scheduled to, at that time, take on Oscar Escandón in his first defense of his WBC featherweight title. Well, Russell got hurt, and that bout was canceled, and that moved Galarza and Hurd to a special edition of Showbox as the main event. So, while it won't be that big a situation as far as him being the main event, he'll be a very highly touted co-feature against up against Oscar Molina, who's undefeated in his own right, and the co-feature to one of the biggest and more anticipated bouts of the year, as Keith Thurman defends his WBA welterweight title against Sean Showtime Porter. Now, Oscar Molina, as we said, 13-0-1 of 10 KOs, and this will be the third undefeated fighter that Jared Hurd has fought, and Molina's no joke. His last bout was a 10-round draw in Las Vegas back in September against Dominique Dalton. And this is a great bout for Hurd. Hurd moved into the top 10 after his win over Frank Galarza. He's now ranked number 9 by the IBF and 10th by the WBA. So, meanwhile, Molina, by the way, is ranked number 10 by the WBC. And so this is a huge bout for Jared Hurd, because if a win by Jared Hurd puts him squarely in the mix in one of the hottest divisions in the business, 154 pounds. And, of course, Gennady Golovkin's in that area, and a lot of other great boxers are in at 154. So Jared Hurd can put himself right smack dab right there if he can win this bout coming up on Saturday, June 25th. Of course, Jared Hurd was the 2015 Beltway Boxing Prospect of the Year, obviously because of that big win over Frank Galarza. So, again, he is now a contender. And win this Saturday would put him squarely in the mix for that. So that is really the big news of the week as far as the pros are concerned. We got some bouts coming up on the following week. We'll tell you about that next week. So, again, a big movement. We wish Jared Hurd the very best as he tries for another big win in his pro career. Meanwhile, on the amateur side, a lot going on the amateur side as Gary Antoine Russell continues his quest to to qualify for the Rio Olympics in 2016. He is currently in Baku, Azerbaijan, competing in an Olympic qualifier there. And so far, so good. As we record this, he's won twice already. He is fighting on Wednesday afternoon, actually, in Baku, Azerbaijan, as he is trying to reach the quarterfinals. Now, what he has to do is get in to the top 5 in order to qualify for the Olympics in 2016. So he wins this one, he'll be in the final 8. And one more after that will put him in the Olympics in Rio. So wish him the very best as well in that situation. As far as the younger amateurs are concerned, everybody's getting ready to go to Dallas, Texas for the 2016 National Junior Olympics. That's June 27th through July the 2nd. And actually, one of the people involved in that is actually in Puerto Rico right now, and that's Jaleel Hackett. Out of Washington, D.C. He is on a team of USA boxers that's in a dual meet against Puerto Rico, and he's won 2 bouts down there. And what's great about this young man, he is the captain of his team. At age 13, he's the captain of his team. His father, Bernard Hackett, is one of the coaches for the squad, but I don't think it had anything to do with him being the captain of the team. Because another young man, Vito Melnicki Jr., is in there, and his father is a part of the traveling team that is in Puerto Rico right now. Unfortunately, Vito Jr. lost earlier this week, so that's a tough break for him. But Jaleel's won 2 bouts in the dual meet against Puerto Rico, and that's just fantastic. He's really coming a long way, and then he'll join the rest of the PVA All-Stars, as we can call them, at the Junior Olympics in Dallas, Texas. We have 21 boxers in that situation. And thank you to those who donated and were able to come to the PVA show at Rosecroft Raceway this past Friday night. That got them over their goal. Because they were having difficulties raising money to send all 21 boxers to the area. But thanks to you and thanks to some corporate sponsors, they were able to reach their goal, and they are all en masse going to Dallas, Texas, the Kay Bailey Hutcherson Center for that big event coming up on Saturday. Actually starting Monday, July 27th, and going on to July the 2nd in Dallas. We'll kind of keep you posted on that as best we can. Now, speaking of the Olympics and speaking of amateur boxing, just before we went on the air, read a story that said the International Boxing Federation will sanction boxers who will try, pro boxers who are going to try to compete in the upcoming Rio Olympic Games. Now, the International Association of Amateur Boxing, AIBA, has in its infinite wisdom, and there's sarcasm running all through that statement I just made, that allows pro boxers to compete in this year's Olympics, 2016, which I think the whole concept of this is an absolute farce. Even when we talk about Tokyo in 2020, I still think this is all complete and utter farce. And it reminds me a lot, although for different circumstances, of how the U.S. American pros got into playing Olympic basketball. It's not a similar situation. I think for AIBA, it's all about control. I mean, it's just, and maybe because they feel they want to elevate amateur boxing by doing this. Olympic boxing anyway, by doing this, I don't see it. You know, in the basketball situation, you see, a lot of people may not remember this, may not be old enough to remember this, but the real reason why the U.S. allowed pros to play in the Olympics starting in 1992 with the famous Dream Team that year. Of course, that was Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, just great. Magic Johnson. The only college player was Christian Laettner. I mean, It was an unbelievable team. And the reason why that happened, you have to look to two locations that took place prior to that. When the United States lost to Brazil in the 1987 Pan American Games, that was step number one, because they were blasted in that tournament primarily by one man. That was Oscar Schmidt, who was just shooting threes all over the place, and the U.S. just looked at him like, oh, he's shooting another one. There it goes. Bye. Okay. So it was ugly. And then in 1988, when the U.S. lost in the Olympics to Korea, in Korea, lost the U.S. lost the gold medal in that one. John Thompson II was the coach then, and he made the cardinal mistake of not having any outside shooters playing against teams who do nothing but shoot outside. And he took off, I'll never forget it, he cut Steve Kerr, who is now the coach of the now former NBA champion Golden State Warriors. But in all honesty, in his playing days, especially as a college player at Arizona, one of the great three-point shooters of all time. And for some reason, John Thompson cut him off the team. Well, they didn't have anybody to break up those packed zones that the international teams were playing, and they got beat on the boards, and they got beat from the outside. They were all the other teams were raining threes all over the place. So the embarrassment of what happened in 1987 at the Pan Am Games and in 1988 at the Olympics led the U.S. Basketball Association to let the pros play. I just think it was just utter embarrassment that took place. I mean, people can debate that all they want to, but you can never convince me that wasn't done out of sheer embarrassment for the way. Because up until that point, with the exception of 1972, of course, in Munich, and of course 1980 when we didn't go to the Olympics, U.S. had dominated in men's basketball. 72 was a joke, of course, and all that situation with the controversy against the Russians. And as again, 1980, we did not compete in Moscow in the Olympics. But any other year, we were dominant in the Olympics until 1988. And I really think the embarrassment of that caused the U.S. Olympic Committee to go ahead and authorize pro basketball players to play in the Olympic Games. I don't think it's the case here with this. I just think this is greed and money and politics on the part of the International Association of Amateur Boxing that's allowing this absolute farce to be there. I mean, it ruins a lot of opportunities for a lot of young boxers, including the boxers here in the Beltway. It just takes spots away, and it's just ugly. It's just an ugly situation, and I hope by the time 2020 rolls around, there'll be some back thought about that and say, let's not do this. We've got great opportunity to win money and keep money going as pros. Let's keep it that way and let these young guys who will not have the opportunity because of you, and even though you got that opportunity, let some young people get some opportunity to make names for themselves in an international manner. So that's my thing on that. I just don't think it's a good situation at all the way around. So it's just foolishness. So we'll see what happens there. But right now, the IBF joins the WBC, who has really been out in the forefront on this. I mean, they were out in the forefront even to the point of this World Series of Boxing that a couple of our boxers have been involved with, Tariq Irby and Gary Antoine Russell. And many people believe they are now pros, in all honesty. Fight Facts lists them as pros because they're getting money for participating in the World Series of Boxing, but they don't lose, quote unquote, their amateur status. So that's what's happening. But to Fight Facts, they are technically pros. So we'll see what happens. But again, I just think it's a dumb move all the way around. It really is, as far as letting pros in the Olympics. So let me know what you think about that. You can catch me on Twitter at Digital25, and always chat with me here on the Spreaker.com, on the Box on Beltway Google app for Android. We don't have any local cards coming up really as of right now until sometime in August. There's a couple events coming up in August One of them is tied into the North American Boxing Federation convention, which will be held here in Washington in mid-August. So that should be a lot of fun. I hope to be able to cover that for both Fight News and Boxing Along the Beltway, and hopefully get some interviews on the podcast here along that way as well. So looking forward for that. And there's scheduled to be a card August 6th in the Crystal City Hilton in Crystal City, Virginia. I believe Ty Barnett will be the main event on that card. So that'll be going on. But right now we're kind of in a little respite right now as far as pro boxing is concerned in this area, in the Beltway area. We have some boxers fighting a little bit around the country, and also in Jamaica. DeMarcus Chop Chop Corley. We haven't talked about this much, but DeMarcus Chop Chop Corley is involved in a Jamaican version of the Contender, and he's actually in the finals of said event. Now, why is, again, if it's anything based like the show that we used to see on NBC and on ESPN and on the old Versus Network, it's kind of like when Steve Forbes was on the Contender. I think he was on the second or third season, and Steve Forbes had already been a world champion, and I didn't understand why he was on there. And DeMarcus Corley has been a champion, and he's in his 40s, but he's beaten all these young guys, and he's gotten to the final of this event in Jamaica. So we'll follow on that. And I think the final is going to be July 1st, the final bout. So we'll see how he does with that. But he's just schooling all these young boxers in this Jamaican version of the Contender. So we'll see what happens there. Well, that'll do it here for a brief version of the Beltway Boxing News and Notes podcast. And always remember, we are sponsored by Real Time Pain Relief. Rub it on, the pain is gone in real time. Visit www.stopachesandpains.com. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm Gary Digit Williams. Always remember to keep supporting the best boxing in the world, the boxing along the Beltway. Take care.